Right. What's up, everybody? Well, here we are, another Thursday night with The Secret with How to Fight CPS and Win. But Mr. Davis is not here. It'll be me, Darren Guay, again by myself tonight. And, well, we're going to do what we can with the little bit of time that we've got. And we're going to try to enlighten you and the world of CPS. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. I was thinking when I was just talking to Grace, our producer, Mr. Davis is at a trial in San Diego tonight, so he was unable to make it. And I'm sitting there, and I never find out that I'm going to be by myself. I don't, like it's just strange. I never know that I'm going to be by myself. So sometimes you're just kind of like, when you have about as many shows as we do, it's kind of hard to pull up something to talk about, So instead of asking you guys some questions about what's going on with you guys, how about we don't ever, or I don't ever talk about what's going on with me and why my situation is what it is. So basically, I think that's maybe tonight what we'll do is I'll get you guys a little bit. You can ask some questions about me, and I'll tell you what my story is. So, I mean, if that seems to be all right. I don't know if it is or not, but that's what I'm going to do. So here we go. Here goes nothing, right? So back in 2000 geez whiz, it was 2020, I believe, that this started. I got involved with a couple of guys that were working with me, and an alleged incident took place that ended up getting me charged with a couple counts of armed robbery, and the list of charges that go along. Sorry about this. Why is this phone beeping like this? And the list of charges that go on and on with that. Like if attempted this and this and that, and it was not what it was seemed at all. A woman had owed me money, or owed my wife money, and we had run into her at a venue that was mutual to all of us unexpectedly, and we got into a little arguing match, and the woman had called 911, and then that led to these charges. Nothing was ever stolen, no one was ever hurt, like none of these things. But in a small town here where nothing takes place, well, this is what goes on, So it was big news up here. This armed robbery. My wife had to get me out of jail. It was $10,000. There was actually $25,000 cash at first, but then they lowered it to $10,000. We were released from jail. So that being said, or I was released from jail. I'm sorry. Well, there was 3 other guys that were there that ended up doing a little piece of time. Ultimately, though, just so everybody knows, after everything was said and done with my situation, all the charges were dismissed because they were unfounded. There was, it was kind of, it's really funny how they waited years to parallel our cases, parallel the CPS investigation with the criminal investigation. And, at the end of the day, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that part. So that's what takes place, right? Then the police come to my house a few hours after I had been bailed out, and they did what they call a bail check. Now, I had a broken back when I was 16 years old playing football, and I was part of the OxyContin wave of America. So they were giving me handfuls of these things at 16, and Percocets and all this. And I was on that regiment till I was about 28, 29 years old, where they stopped me suddenly. Said, oh, okay, you're done with these. So what do you do in America when that's your, for, 15 years, you're handed, an exuberant amount of pills that they, to get cover and help your pain. And then suddenly they just say, no, this is bad for you now. And they drop you right to ibuprofen 800. Well, I got drastically sick after this, and I had no idea why. I didn't even know why I was feeling the way I was feeling. I figured everything would be fine. I knew nothing about the long term effects of uh, pills and opiates. I had no idea that what they did was essentially make me addicted to something, unaware, of the consequences of it. So I have to find new pain care and all of this. Well, my back is in such a condition. That's why you all see me. You see me. I'm bouncing back and forth, bouncing back and forth. It's because if I stand too strong, if I'm standing for too long, my back tightens up and I can't walk. I need pain pills to function every day, and that's what I live by. Otherwise, I turn into pretty much a cripple because I refused to have a back surgery. So there's a little piece of that about me. So anyway, so these police come, they do a bail check. My wife had called earlier that day, said, "Hey, what do we have to do to make sure that he complies with his bail conditions, so on and so forth?" They said, "If you have anything in the house, go ahead and throw it away. Like throw it, put it in a box, bring it to the police station. If there was anything illegal or dangerous, like the drugs, which are not drugs, but the prescription drugs and things like that." So my wife puts everything in a lockbox, in a safe, a gun safe, and puts it in the garage up on top of shelf, like way far away from anything. And also, like I said, in the garage. Well, the police come in, they start looking around the garage, they're looking around, and we tell them, "Hey, that safe that you were looking for, that we contacted you earlier about, is right there." And on top of that, in that safe were some expired pills that I had. Um, a couple other, maybe a little bit of marijuana, I think, was in there, something, but it was nothing, nothing that we would have thought of. So when they opened it up and arrested me, when they opened it up and they looked inside there, they found, my pills. They were mine, but they were expired. So that was that. I was arrested for having controlled substances. And then that's what brought DHS into our lives, between the two things and that. Uh, Unaware of any of this. I had never been in trouble before. I never had, I've had a couple speeding tickets. I think of drunk driving when I was in high school, something like that. But I had never gotten in trouble. I worked my ass off, doing bio recovery work, which is, cleaning up crime scenes and death, crime scenes, murder scenes, things like that. I worked with all the local police departments. I had a good business going, and I had a bunch of guys working for me. We did mold remediation. We did that hardcore work, man, like a good day's work, and we got good pay for it. And my life was very, very good. I was satisfied with my life. Everything was going great. Our oldest daughter Bree had just graduated from high school. Mary just found out she was pregnant. So things changed a little bit with the Nina thing. And so anyway, that's where we were at in that portion of life. So anyway, the cops, they arrested me again on my bail because I had these drugs in this safe 10 feet off the floor on top of a cabinet that were once prescribed to me. But since I didn't take them all and I would keep them, so that when I need them, I could take them and they were fine. I was arrested for illicit drugs and possession of controlled substances. Next day, CPS comes to the house in full force. There's three of them, three cars full of them, a couple of police cars, and man, they rolled over us like ants. I was sitting there, I had always said, just like everybody else said, I said, if I said, if anybody ever tried to take my daughter, I would, hell and high water, freeze over. Well, there's a big difference between what you can say to everybody and how tough you are, and then what you do when a bunch of police cruisers roll up and a bunch of caseworkers come out and start just rolling through your house. And, you're looking there like, we were at arms, we were at distance and disarray anyway from the situation that I was in, because I was being treated as, this monster. Police were coming up and down the road, like watching me and, staking out the house and all this stuff because of my alleged incident. I would even go out there and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, this is not what it seems. I called friends of mine that were on the police force. Um, and then, it was not too long after that they had all disbanded themselves for me. I lost a bunch of my work. I lost a lot of stuff. The news had painted us to be these monsters. I lost a lot of my connections. I lost my classified clearance. I lost all of this stuff because of this. Um, so they come in, like now it's just the protection time. You're scared. What do we have to do to get you guys out of here? What do we have to do to get you guys out of here to make sure that our daughter doesn't end up going with you? That was pretty much my main concern. And of course, my wife Mary, poor thing, she was, she's as simple and as innocent as the day is long. So she didn't even have a clue what any of this stuff was about. Here she thinks that she's, mom of the year, all of this stuff, and didn't even, she didn't even come to grips with the fact that these people were coming there to target it, and nor did I. When they came in, they said, "Oh, well, who's your?" So I've always been, when I was in pain care, I always went to a counselor. I have for years, and I did this myself. I said, because I knew the dangers after they had taken me off of opiates the first time and how sick I got. So I realized the dangers then of what this opiates can do to you, and how it can change your life if you get on this slope of being addicted to them. So I chose to go to counseling to make sure that I kept myself in check. I didn't want to be on that slippery slope or fall down that hill of addiction. And I always went to counseling. I went by their rules. People always were like, "Why are you going to this? You're not an addict. You're not this." I said, well, kind of, in a sense, I am. I'm stuck on these pills, and I will be for the rest of my life. I'm not going to get the back surgery. I'll always have this issue. So when CPS sat down, I told them, hey, I'm in counseling. I'm doing this. I've had this problem, yada, yada, yada. And they all of a sudden said, I'm a full blown addict. I'm this, sign this safety plan. You're not safe here on your daughter. Whole 9 yards, and all I said was, look, I'm going to sign this. And then she gets to stay here, right? She's not going anywhere. We're not going. Nope. Nobody's going anywhere. Okay. So they leave. We escape that day. We, 3 days go by. Here comes the local police department again, and they say they're doing another bail check on me, and they say I need to pee. And I said, okay, well, I'm gonna be positive. I just was arrested the other day. I take opiates. I'm doing these steps to get through there. And like, oh yeah, no problem. So I do it. Obviously, I've only been, on these bail conditions for 3 or 4 days, and I test positive for opiates, of course. Well, they arrest me again. That gets me in trouble from the safety. Gets me in trouble from the safety plan, and here goes the rest of the story. And it was all, those were the events that transpired. Now I know throughout this circuit that there's speculations and stories and all of that, but that's the truth. That's what took place with me. That's what took place to get me where I'm at now. There's no, honestly, I wish it was a cooler story, like some sort of, I jumped from a bank rooftop and through the windows and, got millions of dollars, but no, that's it. I went into a room, had the brief altercation with another person, which wasn't even a physical one between me and that person. I was just more upset and hurt because they blatantly had stolen money from my wife. And that's the way it was left. And this is what you get. This is the things that happened then are what, compounded us to be here today, without our daughter. So that's the start of everything. So once that all happened, um, we were walking on eggshells for a long time, a couple of months anyway. We didn't realize the safety plan stuff that we signed was like a binding contract, So, now they had separated us from living together. They had come through there trying to convince Mary that domestic violence was in our relationship. They were doing this all on the account that I wasn't home. I was only allowed to see Nina for a certain amount of times each week. But I had to be supervised with my wife. We went to our Jeopardy hearing. The state took away all of my custody. Still to this day, not sure. Um, what went on, but they gave Mary full custody of her, and I still just had visitations and so on. And this was a very tough time for our family. Now, um, obviously the love for our child is overly the most important thing, and they made following these rules um, easy, but not easy, if you know what I'm saying. But it also drove a wedge. They're not going to get away with saying no, it didn't, or I'm not going to get away. It definitely put some heat on our relationship that we never knew we had, because up until that point we were all set. Like we were happy we were going to retire. Like we had worked hard enough, the both of us, that we could have retired at that young age. Now I'm 45, and I don't have a damn thing. Literally, I spent every dollar I have on fighting this fight, and now I'm like, I'm struggling like everybody else. And I can't get ahead because of what everybody has said about me, the allegations, the all of this, the fireworks and media hoopla that goes with this, uh, has really suppressed my life and my wife's life. So that's where we're at. I made this video. This was the first thing. I went to school for film production, and I went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. I got an associate's degree there, and I hadn't touched anything with that type of activity or whatever. Can't think of the word, but I had not done anything in film in a long time, and I decided, since well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Hold on, sorry about this. Time goes by. All right, I am at my wife. Let me think how this works here. So a few months go by. We go through the Jeopardy hearing and all this. Um, Prior to all of this stuff happening, my wife and I had gone to pick up some concrete blocks in at Dunkin' Donuts. Um, we went there. We picked up the Dunkin' Donuts. I had just gotten out. It was the night after uh, the night that CPS came in the morning. That's right. Um, we had gone. I had picked up these blocks that I had paid for. I had bought online. We had gone and done that, and I had run into one of the fellas that was involved in the incident with me, which I was kind of curious to see how he was actually out of jail, because I know that he didn't have the money and I didn't have the money to put up for him. But nonetheless, he hops in our car. We we're shooting, we're talking and talking, and when we weren't supposed to be around each other because of the stipulations, but he didn't have any stipulations, so he said, "Oh, it's fine, it's fine." Um, the police do come for loitering. We get out of the car. They say, "Hey, neither one of you guys have, no one has an active license in the state of New Hampshire," which neither one of us knew, my wife or I. And they said, "You're going to need to leave the truck here and go ahead and take off, and like, we won't tow it, just have one of your friends come." So we had a buddy of ours come pick us up, no big deal, and then we drove the truck home. That was it. That's how we left it that day. So we now we go back now, Caleb, just so you know that incident that took place. um we went through the Jeopardy hearings where Mary got all of the custody of Nina and everything. And then they brought me back to jail because of my occurrence with this gentleman. I mean, this was a long time later, which I ended up, they set my bail at 25,000 cash at this point, for having contact with someone I wasn't supposed to have contact with. And this is all absurd amounts of bail in the state of Maine. And the state of Maine also is cash only. There's no bonding, there's no percentage, there's no putting up property. It's straightforward cash. So we didn't have the money anymore because I'm already out on the amount that I was out on, and there was those incidents also that occurred when they arrested me those couple of times that had substantial amounts with them. So I went to jail for 30 days until they dropped my bail down to $5,000. I got out of jail, back onto the case plan, and all this was just very funny. Like what the heck is going on? Like why am I going to jail for this? All of a sudden, like weird things were going on. But nonetheless, now about 2 or 3 weeks after I'm home from jail, uh, my wife was coming over to see me at my place, and because we were still separated at that point, and she never got there. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? Now we had cameras at both of our houses because we had two houses, and we had cameras at both of them. And I'm looking, and I'm like, where the heck is she? She left. She said, "Babe, I love you. I'll see you in a minute." And she never got there. Well, come to find out, she got arrested for being a fugitive of justice. Now, I was just shell shocked. I'm like, for what? What did she do? Like, and fugitive of justice is such a huge charge. Like, what the hell did she do? Like, what do I not know about? Uh, so I call the police department, and they say that they can't tell me anything. They don't know anything, but they're bringing her to York County Jail. So what the hell is going on? They said, all we know is that it had something to do with drugs. And I'm like, what? Something to do with drugs? Well, I call the next morning. I called now at this point now our daughter is with me when she's supposed to have been with Mary, right? Now this is the biggest mistake I've ever made. Mistake number one. And all of you listen to me very clearly here. I answered my wife's phone. Now I have our daughter Nina, and I answer my wife's phone, and it's her counselor, and her counselor is looking for her because she had an appointment that day. Now I don't have all the facts straight, and I don't know what's going on with Mary, but I know that something's not right. And now I'm sitting here, and her counselor calls. I'm in peril. I'm like, what do I do? I need to because now they don't know where Nina is, and Nina's with me, but she wasn't supposed to be. So I sit and I wait, and I'm an honest person. I don't like liars, cheaters, or thieves, man. Those three things, get away from me. I don't want nothing to do with you. But I just, I thought that the CPS people were here for the greater good. Now, here's a real kicker. I called the prosecutor of the state of New Hampshire, and I asked him because they're saying these charges resulted from New Hampshire, a stop in Rochester, the one that I just explained to you about Dunkin' Donuts. I asked the prosecutor, I said, what's going on here? And he says, I don't know what is going on, but I'm the one that signs these warrants, and I don't even have a warrant for a person named what you just told me. Let me look into this a little bit more. I said, okay, thank you very much. Now I'm sitting there. Finally, Mary calls, and I'm like, hey, what? How are you? How are you? She's like, I don't know what's going on. They said something about that stop in Rochester. There was drugs or something in the car. I'm like, but we never got. They let us walk home then, like or get a ride home. There was nothing. Well, according to them, once we found out was that man that got in the truck with me had hidden, and it was nothing. It was an empty baggie, but he had hidden an empty baggie behind the seat, and then he had called over the police when we were there. We have the whole discovery. Any of you want to challenge me on that? I'll play you the tape. He told them at the side of the road that Mary, my wife, had somehow turned around, took a baggie out, and threw it behind the seat. Now we have a huge King Cab F-150, threw it behind the baby seat and hid it right there. That's what she did with it. It's nonsense, absolute nonsense. But obviously this kid's lying because he went over to the cops and told them this. Why he went over and told them, I have no idea. But that's what they were basing their charges off of. So she tells me this, and I'm just beside myself. Like, what the hell are you talking about? And I said, well, what are we gonna do? Because they're gonna find out. DHS is gonna find out, or what do we? We both decide that's the right thing to be honest. Do the right thing. Tell DHS the right thing. Let's let them know that Mary's in jail. I have Nina, and we'll just move forward with this. But if we don't tell them, we'll be in even deeper trouble. Well, biggest mistake I ever made in my life was calling that caseworker and telling her that my daughter was with me and Mary was in jail. Because here they came. And they took Nina from my house. They said that you need to go to a drug test tomorrow morning, Darren. She can be with you for the night. She said, but tomorrow morning you got to go for a drug test. I went to that drug test. I sat there for almost 2 hours. I got a phone call from my stepfather who had Nina at that point in time. And he said, Darren, DHS just called. They said that they're coming to get Nina. I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm here at this drug test. They said I had to come get this drug test, this drug screen. And I need to let them know whatever the results, which they were going to be fine. And, it would be fine. Then Nina was with me. He says, well, they just called and they said that they're coming. I called them. They said that they were coming. I said, so you guys just had me come here to sit at this drug screen for 2 hours. There probably was never even going to be one for me. They just wanted me out of the house to not come back and cause, problems with my daughter being there. So I race home. I confront them. They take my daughter. They go to my mother-in-law's house with her. Then suddenly they come up with all kinds of allegations that my mother-in-law is not fit to take care of Nina, saying that our doctor says she's not well enough. And some family members said that that's a real struggle for her. So we had our oldest daughter come and stay with my mother-in-law. Now this fixed the problems, right? Mary's out of jail now. Everything's fine. Mary had spent 2 or 3 nights in jail. She's home, but they're saying that she can't go back to now where the baby is, but the baby's fine where my mother-in-law is and where our daughter was. That at this point in time was like 20, I think, 22, she says. She's right here in my ear. So the long weekend goes through. It was 8 days from that point that they said that, they had called originally saying that they were going to take Nina, and 8 days goes by. It was a long weekend. And that Tuesday, my daughter had called, made sure everything was all set, asked what she was to do, to make sure that everything was following in the guidelines so that we weren't to lose Nina. They said, hey, we're coming to get Nina right now, and we're taking her to a foster home. And that's where everything, that's where things really got escalated. They came and they took her. They took that little girl after saying that everything was fine. There was no problems. There was no imminent danger. There was no threat to her. There was nothing that ever even involved her. This is one of those incidents that takes place like once the system's got you, it's got you. Everybody has skeletons in the closet. Everybody has anything. And this is why we tell you guys all the time, don't let them in your house, because anybody looking for something is going to find something. Doesn't matter if you're the most perfect person in the world. There's something that causes a flaw. There's something that people will be able to find, and there's something that they'll be able to hang over your head. And that's what they do. I did nothing. I did nothing wrong. Literally. And this is where we're at. I'm TPR'd. So this goes, they take her. Obviously, it causes immense stress. My wife was so ill and sick that she couldn't even handle talking. The next morning, they want us to do this, this briefing with the foster parents. She's so devastated that she couldn't even move out of the bed. And, they called, the caseworker called, and I said, honey, this caseworker's here, and she's on the phone and she'd like to talk to you. And what does this caseworker say? I need you to come to the office today for a drug screen, Mary. That's the first thing she says. Now, Mary is so sick to herself, and her baby had just been taken, that, beside her, that's what you say. That's what you say to a person that you just ripped their child out of their home. You need to come for a drug screen? No couth whatsoever. Mary throws the phone at me, says, you know what, yeah, I need to see my lawyer, something along those lines. That was enough for them to say there was domestic violence in our home, and that I needed to go through all kinds of rigmarole now for a domestic violence situation. And people, as God is my witness, everything I'm telling you here is 100% fact and true. 100%. So I got to figure out something to do. We don't realize the severity of what's going on. We think that they're going to take Nina. It'll be a little bit, we're going to get this 72-hour hearing. She'll be back home. Okay, this sucks this weekend. We were like, let's try to get our heads clear this weekend, get on top of some things that we hadn't been able to since the baby had come. Let's just use this 72 hours as instead of being upset and crying and being all this, let's use this time to, get ourselves restructured and organized to move forward, with my criminal case, like so just get all the stuff behind us and move forward. Well, we know how the story goes. Public pretenders that we had said, no, 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 no. We're not going to do this 72-hour hearing thing. We don't want to show up for this. They're going to be able to use this stuff against you further down the road. It's best interest not to have this case. We'll fight it out and this and that and the other. Well, what do we know? We don't know anything about this stuff. We just figured that the lawyers know what they're talking about. The CPS is honest. The courtroom's going to work the way justice is supposed to fly. So I say, okay, sure, why not? Let's roll it. Let's do what you guys say. You guys are the lawyers. You know what's best, Now, we had hired a couple of specialist people like doctors and things like that, where we thought were important psychologists and all of this, but never thinking that the attorneys that were assisting us were playing their game either. So I took my skills from being a person in multimedia and I put my skills to work. I started the first video I ever did was this video here that I'm going to play for you guys. And this was what really got me tangled up into things. I sent this out, and everything that I did, I sent out to the DHS office as well. I let them know what I was doing because I was, I was putting forward, like, look, I'm doing this stuff and I want you guys to be aware of it because I didn't want to be in any trouble for it. Because again, I was doing nothing wrong as far as I was concerned. I was just trying to get some help to get my daughter back. That's all I was trying to do because I thought everything worked as if it should work, like I just said. Well, little do I know. So here we go right here. This is the first video that I did when she was taken, and we had no idea what to do with her, for her, and with this whole situation. So